Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Like the sound check. Sorry. Begin with a little meditation. Let's get the frequencies aligned. Let's pull up the charts here. All right, we look good. Great. All right, Wim Hoff breathing method. Wim Hoff. 10 deep breaths in, out. In, out. On the 10th exhale, we're going to hold it for as long as possible. And then on that inhale, we're going to hold it in as long as possible. 10 breaths in and out. On that last exhale, hold it as long as possible on the way out. And then as long as possible on the way in. Repeat this as many times as you like. We're going to go through it once. If we get some people on, you want to go through another Wim Hoff breathing exercise, let's do it. But we got to start. We got to get tuned in. I got my boy B Todd in the live here. We're doing Wim Hoff breathing. 10 breaths in, 10 breaths out. Hold that last exhale out. Hold the last exhale in. You can let it out, fire breath, Wu Jai. That is the Wim Hoff breathing technique. All right, now we're aligned. We're ready to go. I really hope it sounds good. I'm obsessed with if I get a YouTube and it sounds like shit, or a podcast that sounds like shit, I hate it. So in my opinion, the worst headline that we saw from the weekend and last night was a bombing near the border of Poland. I think it was 50 miles away from the border. So this is probably the worst we'll get, right? A bombing near NATO territory. But we're going to still keep an eye on our commodities. We're going to keep an eye on the price of oil. We should hear some news on possible farming, agriculture, fertilizer. So Russia and Ukraine are some of your biggest exporters of fertilizer, wheat, neon. Neon's the only one that worries me because we're going to talk about AMD here. And neon is used in some of the etching laser devices to make these microchips. So that's the only one. We heard a small bubble out of Ukraine that they were going to limit the neon exports. But we're also looking at uranium, which Russia and Ukraine export to the United States for our nuclear power plants. Now, just in case any out there, we just make sure to tap in. If you're just now joining us, tap into the frequency. So I think that we could see the worst news, but we are going into a week where we've got a Fed rate hike decision on Wednesday. Now, the meeting is either Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning. I believe we'll get nominated chairman. Jay Powell, the Fed chairman, is not fully inaugurated yet into that position, but we've got nominated Fed chair Powell to speak about what decision they made on Wednesday. I'll get you the time in tomorrow's video. But we're not too worried about what the Fed's going to do right now. They're going to the most likely scenario is a 25%, a 0.25 basis point hike. So a very small interest rate hike. They've likely already tapered a lot of the debt asset purchases. So we're not too worried about those. They're going safe, and they're going safe and fiscally responsible, because we know that, hey, time can also help alleviate some inflation through supply chain catching up. So there's no reason for them to rush it. That's not our biggest worry. Our biggest worry is still a possible global trade war, especially with the price of oil. Because of rising price of oil, any type of rising price of gas is going to increase all of our transportation costs, all of the costs that it takes to stock those Walmart shelves, even going to cut into some of your Costco stocks. Anything that to do with supply chain is going to feel the effects of rising gasoline and diesel prices. So we're not too worried about Fed. I honestly think we'll get a bump once we get clarity on that, and it's safe. We get clarity. I think we get a bump. If we get any talks of ceasefire, and now we have seen some developments from Ukraine open to willingness to negotiate, so we'll see. I don't trust it. I'm going to be keeping a watch on oil, uranium, and wheat. I'm kind of hedging against my long-term portfolio with some of the uncertainty. I'm currently playing uranium and wheat. If we see any global escalation, WEAT, price of wheat has been on the increase. So we're in the third week of war, right? We had a de-escalation last week. So the first week we saw the price of oil skyrocket. We had a de-escalation the next week, price of oil dropped. So gonna be big to watch the price of oil. And here's some of the energy and solar stocks I was watching. U.S. Energy. This was a good one where if the price of oil, now a lot of people were watching the BNO, United States Brent crude. It was very indicative of the rising oil prices that we saw this week. We even still kept going up last week, and then we started to fall off. I think this was last Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. We may have peaked Tuesday and Wednesday. So I'm keeping an eye on those. But at the same time, I still go hard on big tech. I still love big tech. I'm a fan of the NASDAQ. A lot of traders like to watch the SPY as a good technical indicator for how strong our tech sectors are. And so when we're looking at the SPY, when we're looking at NASDAQ, Apple is going to be our number one weight on these indexes. So the market a lot of times is going to move with Apple. And sorry, I was on mute. Apple got hit hard Friday. I remember trading Apple at 155 last summer, which was crazy. I think any kind of piece in Apple's going to shoot up to 180. I mean, off the chart here, we can't even see it. So people like to hate on Apple, and that's because they're not Apple users. I know me and mines, my boys, my family, we all fucks with Apple. So if you like Apple, this is a great spot for it here. 155, I can't even believe it got below or even close to 150. That's crazy. Anyways, I mean, even if you bought a little bit of Apple now, let's say you bought one share of Apple now. Price in a month, for some reason, would be 120, 130. 20 bucks below where it's at now. Buy another share, or you're going to be all right. Hold Apple for 5 to 10 years, and you're going to be set. But let me talk to you about AMD. And I'm going to also go in today about some quantum theory, frequencies, how the power of two minds is better than one. So stay with me, and I may even come back to the AMD because I really want to express the value of AMD stock right now. So I think there's a reason it's a consensus number one on a lot of analyst boards right now. And we're talking about advanced macro devices. Advanced micro devices. AMD. Now, I was selling cars in 2017 and started to get into the stock market. Should have bought Bitcoin back then. I had some people I was selling cars with talk to me about Bitcoin. And it was like maybe pushing $1,000 at the time. And I don't know why I didn't listen to these young kids. I thought they were young, naive, arrogant, and I knew more than they did. But clearly not. Anyways, I was in this sector looking at actually selling Toyotas, and I was looking at the computer chips that were going into making the self-driving technology. And NVIDIA was a company that popped up. They were designing computer chips that were going into auto manufacturers' cars to assist with self-driving recognition, computer software. And so, love NVIDIA. They also had the gaming space, which is where they kind of compete with AMD. Was they made the graphics chips that would go into your normal GPUs, CPUs for graphics for gamers. That's where they compete with AMD, but they were also in a specialized chip making process for your auto manufacturers. And I recognize this, and this was one of my greatest investments. Now, I see something similar with AMD right now. Now, NVIDIA, let's just take a look at their earnings over the course of time here. I believe their last earnings was $7.64 billion. $7 billion. So they've come from $6 to $7 billion, even just up from $3, $4, and $5 billion a year ago. So that's still increasing. That is a good sign. This is actually a good price. They've gone through 2 splits now and are now at a very high but decent price point. But I want to tell you why AMD is a better investment right now than NVIDIA. So the reason I switched my long-term leader of this section in this industry is because the acquisition of Xilinx. So NVIDIA failed to acquire ARMS, which was another chip maker. And I haven't looked too much into ARMS, but NVIDIA was supposed to buy out their company, and it has been held up for whatever reason. I'm not sure. At the same time, AMD has been able to successfully complete a merger with Xilinx, Xilinx. And what this is going to do, now what it did is it converted all of Xilinx shareholders into AMD shareholders, so increased your market capital, but at the same time we're going to see increased revenue day one. The next earnings report that comes out for AMD, we should see the Xilinx revenue on that balance sheet, which I think Xilinx was in the, I know they were making $1 billion. No longer going to be trading, but this can give us an idea of, they were doing $1 billion in revenue. Their most recent earnings was $1 billion in revenue. So we're going to pretty much just off the bat add $1 billion to AMD's most recent earnings revenue of $4.3 billion. So if AMD's next earnings report doesn't improve on any other metric, then we're going to be looking at $5.83 billion, adding Xilinx's $1 billion to their revenue. So we instantly get a bump. And we saw after the earnings report on 2/1, we shot up to 130. I think AMD is, 105 is, it's crazy. Now AMD has gone through one stock split, and I mean, this was probably around the time of their stock split. It's probably over a year ago. But we're adding the acquisition of $1 billion company to the balance sheet here. Now Xilinx, the reason I like it is because it's allowing AMD to now compete with a couple other chip makers. Xilinx did produce a specialty chip, so their chip, I believe they supplied, let's see, Xilinx was shipping over 20 million shipments to automobile manufacturers for semiconductors. So they were a big customer for a lot of auto manufacturers. But at the same time, so it allows AMD to get into this space to manufacture chips for automobiles, as well as aerospace and some other GPS type inventions that track location, I believe. So it allows AMD to get a market share of the automobile computer chip industry. Now, what we also get is the upgrade to their cloud software computing business. So AMD is also starting to entrench upon Intel's cloud software computer share business. This is a growing sector of the computer chip industry because everything is going to the cloud. Companies are having to use AWS, Amazon Web Services, Amazon's cloud computing ability to store their information in the cloud. So you've got a cell phone app that tracks and stores your data. That data has to be held on a server somewhere. So a company like Amazon is going to let these video chat hosting places like, YouTube, but YouTube's going to use Google. They all have their own web services, cloud computer storage, and a lot of those cloud computing storages are powered by Intel's chip. AMD is getting into that market share. I just saw that AWS, Amazon Web Services, is now allowing their clients to use AMD's computer chip versus Intel. And the acquisition of Xilinx is only going to help further them into this market share. And it also allows, as the market changes, expands, shifts, continues, to be at the forefront of innovation in this industry. From what I know about the Xilinx chip, it's allowed to be reprogrammed. So it's a simple chip, but it's allowed to be reprogrammed to run mathematical equations. Whereas, like, let's say, so Intel just is coming out with a Bitcoin miner. And from what I know about Bitcoin mining chips is that they're designed to run one application very efficiently. Now, that's good until that software becomes outdated for the algorithm. Now, the Xilinx chip with a reprogrammable block is allowed to be updated and possibly reprogrammed, combined with the rest of AMD's power. It's a game changer for me. So that's what prompted me from 2017 investing in NVIDIA to now I'm putting my investments into AMD. I do love Bitcoin too. You know, I love Bitcoin. I just like it as an idea. Let's ring the bell. That time change got me this morning, y'all. It was early, and it's early. So I hope y'all have a great week. I'm going to stick around and talk about some quantum theory. I wanted to show you Intel's revenue, because Intel's crazy revenue. I know my boy Herb, he's invested into TSM, and TSM is great. I mean, AMD gets parts from TSM, which is crazy. So TSM, a chip manufacturer, is supplying 3 or 4 other chip manufacturers, which is nuts. And I mean, they're at a great price. They just invested $40 billion, I think, into U.S. Chip making plants, which is great. I mean, that's what we want to see. We want to see investment into the company. Not sure if TSM has stock buybacks. AMD's also got stock buyback program going on right now. $8 billion stock buyback program for the next couple years, which was recently increased from a $4 billion buyback program that was about halfway through. So increased the buyback. Look at so TSM is in the $15 billion revenue. Crazy. Give a nice dividend too. My hope is that AMD, along with the share buybacks, will, a year or two from now, because obviously they just spent a ton of capital acquiring Xilinx. It was the biggest deal. It was I'd have to look up the specific facts, but it was the biggest deal ever, I believe. Biggest acquisition deal ever. So pretty cool, but obviously it's going to show up somewhere on the earnings reports. Anyways, TSM, they're great. They're investing in growth. They make a ton of money. INTC, Intel. This is the company that I think AMD can really start to grab a market share of. And you look at $20 billion revenue. So if AMD can go from the excuse me, what the heck is that? That's not my list. So if AMD can go from the 4.8 billion they just posted, add the Xilinx billion in there, we're at 5.8 billion. Stock price is going to react friendly to that. People are going to invest. But so the other thing I love about AMD is it's been the top volume seer every day on the stock market. This thing has been trading more shares than Apple, than any other company consistently for months. For the entire year, it's been, the average volume is 91 million. Now, what's that up there? That's going to be Apple. But it's been seeing more shares traded than Apple has been seeing. In the recent months, as recent as this year, it's been seeing more shares traded than Apple, which is crazy. So somebody's buying this stock. Yes, at the same time, somebody's selling it. To me, after the completion of Xilinx, now this is an investment advice. This is all my opinion. I just happen to really like AMD. I would advise, if you like another company, to invest in that company, because you're going to have a better, you're going to have an easier time holding and then buying more if you like the company. That's why some people like Apple. They invest in Apple. They use Apple. They buy Apple stock, hold it for 5 to 10 years. You're going to have made money. Now, I don't see any crazy crash coming just because the U.S. is the best place to invest money. So if you think about people that have billions of dollars, where are they going to go to put their money? The U.S. markets, the U.S. stock exchange. Now we're seeing, let's see what our 10-year is at. Twos. So we're right at the twos. And Bitcoin this morning is at 39K. I think we had a European bill, Parliament bill introduced to ban Bitcoin. It's supposed to fail. Could be something weighing on the markets. Now, if you see, I don't know what's going on with that, guys. Sorry. Anyways, Europe is up today, slightly, but even amid escalating tensions in Russia in this area, Europe is up today. The European market, I know the European market closes at 11:30 Eastern. Something decent to check in the morning. Anyways, tap in. Frequency. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great week. People are going to invest in the American stock market because the USA is the best. Where else can you make money like this? It's crazy. Ain't nobody investing in no Chinese stock market or no European bond market or whatever. They're investing in, I had a couple boys that sell bonds, and I'm sure they're doing all right right now. People are buying bonds. People are buying U.S. debt because this is the best market. End of story. Plain and simple. United States is where you invest your money, and it's the best economy. We got the best people. We got the strongest middle class labor force. Everything about the United States is strong in our markets. Let's bring a going to that. Yes, sir. All right, I'll get into why Bitcoin is a great idea, but we're gonna just run this stream out as long as anybody is in here to view it. Or until I got to go to work at about 7:45. So, let me know if anybody wants another minute-long breathing exercise. We could get a Wim Hoff breath work in. If you don't know about the Wim Hoff breath technique, it's 10 breaths in and out. Hold that last exhale out for as long as possible, and then hold the following inhale in as long as possible. But all right, so I'll give you a little tidbit here. I was thinking about quantum theory and just how to figure out frequencies and quantum theory. And one thing that popped in my brain was how they use a quartz chip inside your phone to amplify frequencies. So there's a quartz chip in your phone, on your computer chip. I'm sure AMD has to have a quartz chip on there that picks up and amplifies the signal. That's how you get, a big reason why you get reception is because that quartz chip is in there amplifying the signal. So we know that quartz interacts with frequencies. And that is why I also believe that tourmaline quartz can dampen a frequency. So if that 5G radiation is coming to your phone, that 5G frequency is coming to your phone, your quartz in your phone is going to amplify it out and send it on to the next user. This around you is going to dampen and absorb that frequency. Now, this got me into my next thought, where what if a truth can't be proven? And I often think a lot about this, even with all of the ongoing global news, all the COVID shit, this war. It's like what can we really know for certain? Because to me, quantum theory, until my brain observes it, is very hard. It's very difficult for me to fully grasp it as truth. So what do we do with things that are in absolute truths, that we're unsure of, that cannot be indefinitely proven? And to me, that's where quantum theory would tell us that light exists as a spectrum of outcomes, and the observer effect plays the best role in where those outcomes end up. So in my first video last week, I talked a little bit about the quantum theory observer effect, where in this study, now this is proven, this is one of the tough things about frequencies or quantum theory, is it's tough to prove that this rock could absorb or dampen a frequency. That's tough to prove. I was interested in how the first person was able to prove that a quartz could amplify a cell phone signal, but I'm sure somebody had to Tim Brady. Oh, Timmy Brady. But what do we do if we can't prove it exists? Now, quantum theory, as I was saying, the quantum theory observer effect, as they shot a particle of light through two holes, they noticed that when nobody was looking, when no camera or human was observing, the light existed as a spectrum on the wall behind it. It was only until a camera or a human observed it that they were able to determine which slit, which hole the light actually went through. And that was probably determined based on where they were viewing it from. If they were viewing it from the right, they probably got the determination that light particle was on that side, when in reality it existed as a spectrum, but only because somebody was there to view it that it popped up at this one specific point. The best example in real life is if two people 10 feet apart are looking at the sun near a body of water, and that sunlight is glaring off the water, it's going to shoot directly at you. That is your truth. It exists as a ray. And then the person 10 feet to the right of you is going to experience a different reality, where that sun is reflecting off the water and pointing at them. They're both 100% true, and you cannot say that one is more true than the other. So how do we apply this in life to where, if you can't prove that, like, you're not going to be able to, and it maybe over time you can, but realistically you're not going to be able to prove that eating McDonald's every day is bad for you. I mean, yes, in the long run maybe, but quantum theory could tell us that, and A great example of this is Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco. If you've ever heard about Ocho Cinco talk about McDonald's, it's a great quantum theory experiment. It's a great quantum theory take on things, because the Ocho Cinco view of it is eat McDonald's, don't stress about it. If you don't stress about it, if you think you're good, because God gonna take care of you. You got an immune system, you've got a body and a resiliency to fight that off. But to me, it's more of the thought of it. It's if you think, oh, this McDonald's, it's shitty for me. It's gonna make you feel like shit. Where pray over that McDonald's, eat it with a good intention, a positive intention. And if you were to do the two of those every day, let's say you were to eat McDonald's for 50 days and have a negative outlook on it, like, oh, I'm going to be the most unhealthy person, you would, because you wouldn't work out, you wouldn't do the other extra shit that it would take to still be a good, in-shape person, you wouldn't drink shit tons of water, you wouldn't exercise, you wouldn't stretch, because your mindset would be negative. Where if you were going in there eating every day at McDonald's and be like, all right, man, this McDonald's is going to turn me into a beast. I'm going to be a beast in the gym with this McDonald's. I'm going to be a beast at work. This McDonald's makes me feel so good. You're going to be, you're going to feel better. You're going to be, you're going to get that workout done. You're going to, go to McDonald's, and maybe even just having a different thought process could help you order something better off of McDonald's. So the quantum theory observer effect would tell you that the outcome is influenced by where the perspective is, by what lens you're viewing it through. So, and that's simple. I mean, if you're viewing everything through a negative lens, you're going to have negative results. If you're viewing everything through a positive lens, you're more than likely going to have a more positive result. And this is quantum theory. It works for everything. And the other area where I thought of something in quantum theory was the power of two minds. So let's take just our one mind, have a positive lens on it, and now let's add a second positive lensed mind and brain on there. Y'all ain't feel me. Ring the bell. Tune in. Hope y'all are getting ready to have a great day, because I did a video last week by myself. Go check it out. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing this every morning. But the power of two, we got a couple people in here now, and the power that brings is crazy. And the one specific example I thought of the power of two, and now even Jesus told his followers, where two or more of you are gathered, I am there. So let me say that again. Jesus said, where two or more of his followers are gathered, I am there. So there's a power in two human brains being together. And the best example I thought of it is working out. If you have a workout partner, your end result is going to be infinitely better than if you were working out by yourself. And you're just more motivated, you're more creative, your two minds is better than one. And I think that merging of minds can really exponentially help the quantum theory outlook of things, where it's all determined by the lens of outlook on life. And that lens that life is viewed through will have a big difference on the final outcome. And as one of my messages, just to take you through the week, is the event's going to happen. Whether it's something bad like getting a fender bender, or something bad. How can you put a lens of positivity on there to help that situation for you? Or how can you change? Maybe you're already looking at something, whether it be your work day or whatever it is. Maybe you're already looking at something with a negative lens right now, and just putting a different lens on, putting a different pair of glasses on to view that can and will make a big difference. So, thank God for this day. Thank God for this day. We pray for all our friends and families, health and wealth, and that was the main reason I started this channel was health and wealth. And I'll get into some workout hacks that I have and I've learned, and some workout hacks to where even if you're just doing a little bit a day, just move your body. That's key. But and I don't know what it is. I honestly think it. Part of the reason I'm doing this is it's going to make me a better trader, because I'm going to be writing down my notes every night and then coming on in the morning to talk about, hey, where we're at. One thing I don't like is Webull does not let me look at futures. So a lot of people, like, every morning like to look at the ES, which is going to be your S&P futures. I like to look at the NQ, which is going to be your NASDAQ futures. Right now, your NASDAQ futures are 13,283. It's just a decent morning indicator of, hey, if you had any bad news. So, right now, our NASDAQ is 12,843. So, we're almost 1,000 points below where our futures price is saying we could end up right now. Now, obviously, futures is different, but it's a decent indicator. You look at Europe, you look at futures, you look at some of the prices of, especially during this wartime, you're going to look at some of the price of Brent crude. You're going to look at the oil prices. You're going to look at Brent crude right now is 107.47. It was Brent crude was up to $130 Tuesday of last week. I think it was the highest it's ever been. So it's crazy. Oil stocks were going nuts last week. XOM and Oxy. I wish I had listened to my advice 2 or 3 weeks earlier, where we were talking about war, and I was thinking about XOM and Oxy, but never really invested in them. And the next 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of the war, I should say, we had huge pops in these oil manufacturers and energy related stocks. So trend could continue. I'm gonna make another cup of coffee, guys. How many cups of coffee do y'all drink? Let me know. I've been drinking 2. I've been on about 2 cups a day. I've been on about 2 cups a day. Tune in, tap in, do a little breath, do a little meditation. Whatever you need to have a great day. And I would start to look at some of these stocks, guys. We're entering could be more major, but this is correction territory, guys. This is 10% drops from where we were in some of these names. It is even bigger drops. So, I mean, AMD just had their record earnings and just acquired a company that does $1 billion in revenue. So, I think Zacks is a great trading investing platform. Oh, one other thing. If you're interested in stocks and you don't want to pay for a Benzinga Pro or the Bloomberg Terminal would be great. If I ever could get 100,000 followers on YouTube and make an extra, 20, 30K from YouTube, I would buy Bloomberg Terminal. I think Bloomberg Terminal is $30K per year. It's freaking expensive. If I could make enough money, I'd get the Bloomberg Terminal. It's great. But if you don't want to invest in Benzinga Pro or some of these other stock trading tools like Zacks, investment ideas, then Unusual Whales is great. They've been on Twitter. Unusual Whales on Twitter. They've been the fastest Twitter news. I've looked at a couple others like Fast Stock Market News, blah blah blah. There's a couple others on Twitter, but Unusual Whales is great. I turn on their notifications, and they have the fastest news. Sometimes the Unusual Whale news will come across the desk before the stock market. Excuse me. It'll come across Unusual Whales before it comes across the Bloomberg desk. So very quick, very good way. Especially if you're short-term trading. Now, if you're a long-term trader, keep investing in a company you like and hold till the cows come home. Hold till you can pass that stock along to your kids. If you're a short or kind of, if you're short trading or swing trading, you need to be following headlines, because you need to know if Russia bombs Poland today, I might need to get out of some positions, or maybe I need to get into some positions. So it allows you to still have some flexibility while you're at work, whatever it is, to get headlines, to get updates. If you're working hard, it could come through an Apple Watch and you can get those updates, and it'll keep you involved. It'll allow you to minimize risk in some of your short-term trading, and also just stay updated. They're going to post you every earnings of every company. Any headline that comes across the Bloomberg Terminal, Unusual Whales is tweeting it out in typically quicker. I don't know how they do it. It's crazy. They're also going to give you options flow. So options flow, from what I was reading, is heavily favored towards call options on big tech right now. So and this is Unusual Whales. This is who I follow for my breaking stock market news. And this is who I would advise and turn on notifications if you want quick stock market news. And they also post options flow. So you'll see when they'll give you the whole layout of when somebody is spending 5K, 35K, 50K on a stock option, which right now I think it's been fairly bullish on call options, but we'll see. Anything could change this week. Don't make any assumptions with an ongoing war about where you think this is going to end up. Wednesday could be a big day. We could take off Wednesday and never come back. This could be the low today. We could drop a little lower. Who knows? Is the point of it all. I'm just going based off of what I see, and I see a great level for AMD this morning. Let me know if y'all got any other stock tickers you like. I'd like to look at them too, because I like to know what other people like, because that's one of my favorite parts about Bitcoin, is that I know when motherfuckers get paid on Friday, there's a lot of other people like me that love Bitcoin as an idea. It's not, it's not controlled by one single entity. It's not the United States government. It's not Chinese. It's decentralized. It's owned by the people. It's able to be viewed. Now, I kind of wish that Binance and Forex didn't offer futures and shorting contracts allowed for Bitcoin. That's a whole nother story though. But find a stock that you like, because you're going to be more likely to take a paycheck, even if it's just $50, even if all you got is $50 a month left in your bank account, you can invest that over time in a really good company and have success. And that's a great strategy for investing. Now, if you wanted to do that with a Roth IRA, that's great too. Would highly recommend that. But on a company like a AMD or an Apple, let's say you put $1,000 into a company right now, and hopefully you're getting fiat. Hopefully you're getting a fiat paycheck, and it's at $100 right now. It's at 103 this morning. AMD is. So let's say you put $1,000, you get 10 of those stocks, or just under 10. Let's just say you get 10. And let's say next month the price is 120. Let's say next month the price is either 120 or 80. Let's say it's 120, and maybe you like it, maybe you want to keep investing, but maybe it's 80. If it was 80, I'd recommend you keep going in there. Again, this is not stock market recommendations. I'm just telling you what I like to do. I've been doing this in NVIDIA, and it's been really good trades for me over time. And I'm now doing this with AMD because I know they have all the pieces in place to be a successful company. And in my opinion, they will lead the chip making space for the next 5 to 10 years. So watch Apple. Again, Apple is your top weighted stock on a lot of indexes. Pretty much all the indexes that most traders look at, like the SPY, the QQQ, and the NASDAQ. Those are going to be, if you're interested in those, you're looking at your tech heavies, which that's what I've always been interested in. I don't really like the biotechs. Also, don't listen to any of this shit coming out of China about COVID lockdowns, because we're coming out of our winter season, where China, on the opposite side of the world, is going into their winter season. So I saw a report that they're shutting down factories in Shenzhen, China. And again, that's quantum theory. That's one of those things where I can't confirm or deny, so I can't put any stock in it. And I won't. So It's not something I can trade upon. But just know that that's not likely to affect us here in the U.S. If anything, we're getting out of our sick time where, right now you may even be feeling like you're, because here in Charleston we've had pollen already. And I know it got cold this weekend, which kind of threw some people off, but we had pollen, and it kind of messed up my sinuses a little bit. Just caused you to feel a little lethargic, a little drowsy. But we're coming out of our winter. We're spring. Our bodies are going to be getting rid of some of the shit that's in there. And, you may get that. That's what allergies are. You're just getting rid of some of that shit. So you can be your best version of yourself during summer. But China's the opposite. They're going into their winter, so they're more likely to be susceptible to respiratory viruses. It's just the way it is. So I feel like we're pretty good as far as the COVID front goes for the summer, which that helps the markets as well. We're not going to see, we shouldn't see these auto manufacturers. Now, the war could still play a factor on this. That's why I think that's the most important news that will affect the stock market at this point in time. All right, let's get a little Wim Hoff. I want you to breathe 10 deep breaths in and out. See you, brother. Have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow morning. I feel aligned. Oh, you guys should all feel really aligned right now. It's getting close to time to go sell some trucks. I love y'all. I truly do. I want to say a prayer for you. Anybody that sees this, know God has got your back. No matter what, if you believe, it can happen. Miracles happen every day. Your attitude and your lens that you look at whatever the event is are going to affect the outcome. I believe that we have a perfect world and a perfect body waiting for us after this one. And know this world isn't perfect. Crazy shit happens on a day-to-day basis. But your lens on how it's viewed makes all the difference in the world with how the outcome affects you and could potentially affect somebody else. And again, last thing, if you're extrapolating the quantum theory effect into your life, the power of two minds. Now imagine your positive lens plus another positive lens in that same task or in that same event can have exponential effects on the outcome results. So, a great quote, and we'll leave you with this. Jesus said to his followers, "Where two or more of you are gathered, I am there." So, seek Jesus, pray to God. That'll help your lens. And just believe in something greater. No matter what happens, as what negative things are coming down on you, what's weighing on you, know God's got your back, and pray to him, and believe, truly believe, and your outcome is going to be great. AMD dropping to 102.99. Wow. My long term is looking a little questionable. One other update, and I'm gonna put this to talk about tomorrow, because I'll need a stock to talk about tomorrow. Square is one of my second most bullish stocks right now, because we're seeing a shift away from the central banks. Central banks, think about the role that central banks used to play in a economy, where an emerging economy, whether they had to or didn't have to go into like your country like Africa or South America, the central bank used to be a gate for money borrowing, to where if you wanted to start a business, you had to have, if you wanted to start a country at the time, you had to have access to their banking system. And I don't know why, I don't know where they got this idea from, that they needed to infiltrate all these other species, all these other societies across the globe to be this gate of monetary flow. But you no longer need them, because more and more societies are connecting to the internet, and payment and monetary solutions and monetary flow are easier than ever with access to the internet. Any A receiver and B giver can meet through the internet to perform a transaction. You no longer have to have the central banks to receive and store this value, and also to go through them to transact on this value to make a transaction. Because now, Square is a great one. So this leads me into Square. It's one of the reasons I love Square. I think as the economy, Visa and MasterCard just raised their fees. Crazy to think about, but now we use Visa and MasterCard pretty much for every transaction. I do, unless it's in cash, which is very rare. They just raise their fees for merchants. They raise their merchant fee. So every little micro transaction now from Visa or MasterCard has a little bit extra fee. And who's going to see that? The consumer's going to see that price. So when a gas station clerk is now selling you a Coke, and there's another little 2 or 3 cent fee on it, that takes a toll over time. So we'll talk about Square, and I think where they can go in this evolving cryptocurrency, blockchain, internet transaction world, especially as we see countries evolving at a rapid pace, like Africa like South America, internet is becoming more and more adopted. We're seeing these people start to come online and start to trade markets, and so I could really see the middleman of the central banks being cut out, and we go just from having to use them to just having any ability to. Transactions are just going to get so simple as long as you're connected to the internet. Now, tinfoil, that could be another thing we see, is some possible internet outages. Whether they be naturally from a really ginormous solar flare that is sent our way, or whether they be targeted attacks. We'll see. But I'll talk a little bit about Square tomorrow. At Square Block, small business payment solutions. They also own Cash App. They also Jack Dorsey is their CEO. When I look at a company, I look at the CEO. That's one thing I like about the AMD Xilinx merger, is they kept all of the top level people as well as the developers of Xilinx. So they kept all of Xilinx best people, and I think that's great because that's only going to expand their contacts and ability to penetrate the market. So all the top CFOs, CEOs, all those people, they stayed on, so they've got connections. So it's only going to help them expand. But Jack Dorsey with Block, he's doing some great things in the Bitcoin space, and I think Square is a really good tool for small businesses. But I also think once we cut out the middleman of these central banks, and just tap to pay or pay by cell phone, whatever it is, the transactions are going to become so easy. And we'll see where that goes. I think that's going to be something that develops over the next 5 to 10 years. And could be really encouraging, especially for upcoming nations. And we can talk more about El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin and kind of how that's been a slap in the face to central banks. We can talk some more about that. But I'm off to go sell some trucks. Hope you guys have a great week. Join me every morning. Like the video, subscribe, and see you guys back here tomorrow. Cheers. Love you. Have a great day.